What's up guys, it's your boy Freddy here. Welcome back to my Toast Beans channel. In this video, I want to give you guys a deeper dive analysis into Nvidia so that you can help better prepare yourselves and position yourselves for the earnings event next week. I also want to briefly mention that this week will be an earnings packed week, starting with Salesforce and C3 AI reporting alongside Nvidia on Wednesday. We also have Costco, Dell, Zscaler, Ulta, Gap. So as you can see, it's going to be a packed week that could also help potentially move the markets. We have a slew of economic reports starting with the FOMC meeting minutes on May 28th. We have initial jobless claims and GDP on Thursday alongside a bunch of Fed speakers and home sales reports. And on Friday, we have the PCE report, which is another measure of inflation. And so far, inflation has been trending in the right direction, as we could see with previous CPI and PPI reports. But who knows, this could be another anomaly that could move the markets. So, the biggest news that we had this weekend was Trump delaying 50% tariffs on EU to July 9th, after he said last Friday that he threatened 50% tariffs by June 1st. And if you look at the S&P 500 futures, as you can see, that caused a really big sell-off on Friday, alongside with 25% tax on Apple if they don't move production and manufacturing back to the United States. It was a really good buying opportunity for dip buyers. And even though we couldn't really close above Thursday's close, you can see that with futures, we got another gap up and we're trying to test Thursday's high. And if you look at the S&P 500 futures on the weekly time frame, you can see that it's holding the 9 exponential moving average, which is that yellow line there. It is holding the 50 moving average, which is that blue line there, and is holding pretty nicely as an area of support. And you can see that the MACD is now starting to cross, which is signaling to me that bullish momentum is here to stay at least for the next couple of weeks. So I'm not going to look for any big sell-off or any big potential crash yet. And this is because everything on the charts is telling me that there is continued sustained bullish momentum. And this ties into my thesis for Nvidia, as you will see in the next few minutes. Now, we had a slew of positive news for Nvidia leading up to its earnings. Starting with 2 weeks ago, we had Nvidia sending 18,000 of its top AI chips to Saudi Arabia, which should definitely help sales. And Nvidia rose more than 5% trading on Tuesday. And we also had news of Nvidia to launch cheaper Blackwell AI chips for China after US export curves. As you know, Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang has been a pretty vocal critic of US chip export restrictions, and this news should help Nvidia retain market share from China. As you can see here, China remains a huge market for Nvidia, accounting for 13% of its sales in the past financial year. So I want to mention that it's also helpful to look back into Nvidia's past earnings reports and what analysts are saying. So last earnings on February, Nvidia sales grow 78% on AI demand. Company gives strong guidance, and not only that, a lot of big tech companies like Microsoft, Apple, Google, Meta, they all announced increased capex spending for chips. As you can see, Nvidia's revenue in the quarter rose 78% from 35.1 billion, and the full fiscal year revenue rose 114% to 130 billion. But a lot of analysts are worrying that Nvidia growth is slowing as the company becomes larger. And this is a really valid worry because Nvidia, as you know, in 2022, 2023, and 2024, they have been ramping up sales due to increased demand for AI. So every quarter they beat like 200%, 200%, 200%, but we're not really seeing that so far, and it's being accurately reflected in the Nvidia stock price. If I could briefly turn your attention to the chart of Nvidia on the weekly time frame, you can see that the price has not moved at all since mid to late 2024. So mid to late 2024, it was hovering around 120 to 140. And you could see 1 year later, we are still pretty much in the same price range. But one thing to note that's interesting is that while the MACD turned bearish since 2024 and it has remained bearish up until now, the stock price has been consolidating sideways, and that is not necessarily a bearish sign. And it is signaling that a lot of buyers are willing to step into Nvidia price as soon as it drops below $100. And that's what we're seeing so far. And so with renewed bullish MACD, I'm believing that Nvidia, whether or not we get a knee-jerk downside reaction to Nvidia post earnings, or the day after, I believe that Nvidia should see continued upside momentum over the next few weeks and over the next few months. And on the 4-hour time frame, I want to mention that this consolidation here is not a bearish sign for Nvidia at all. And I would say that you can see that the MACD is trying to curl up on the 4-hour time frame, and we're getting a what looks like to be a 5-wave impulse move higher, where this is marking the completion of a 4th wave. So I'm looking at a 5-wave push higher into the 140s and 150s range post earnings. Last but not least, I want to mention that I post all my analysis on the ToastBeans application. So whether or not you're a busy individual or you just don't want to read the boring 10K reports for every company, go ahead and check out my app. I post all my insights for individual stocks and the market on the application. As you can see for my most recent analysis, I mentioned that Bitcoin is hovering around 100K, which is a very good sign for crypto and altcoins heading into summer of 2025. It's a very significant psychological level for risk on assets. If we continue to hold these levels, we could see continued appreciation in both stocks and crypto heading into summer of 2025. As you can see, we have Bitcoin holding $109,000 near all-time highs. We have Ethereum at 2,500. This is all signaling risk on for the current market environment. Not only that, I also have my individual stock analysis for Nvidia. So if you have time, go ahead and check out my earnings analysis, my pre-earnings analysis for Nvidia on the ToastBeans application. So hope you guys enjoy this video. If you guys found this video helpful or you have any questions or comments, leave them down in the comment section below. If you guys enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up for the algorithm, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.